Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at Koda V5. We're getting close to a finalized release. Obviously, they're never really final because you're always going to add and update things, but we're getting close to a complete workflow. So that means we've got Controlnet Depth, Controlnet Canny, Advanced IPAdapter, and a 12K native upscaler all in one workflow. So that means you're not going to need Soup here for this. You can always add it as a module, as I've shown you in the previous video. But this is going to be using toggles. So that means you'll easily be able to just activate IPAdapter and just see what it looks like with or without the control nets, and you can turn them off separately. I recommend using them together. But I think it's something to do with how you combine the conditioning from the two. I think it's better to come from the model rather than from the previous control net. Seems to be a bit cleaner. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to just show you real quick where to get it. So obviously you're going to need to come over to my model and download the V5 is what it's going to be. That's what we're talking about today is V5. Every pack contains the previous pack. So the new workflow today we're talking about is 0 Legacy. Now, quick note about the Legacy part. There has been an update, so you can now download combined checkpoints. So you don't need to do all of this. UNet goes here. You know, it's changed somewhat. We've got new loaders. This workflow will support everything, and I'll show you how. So it doesn't matter which way you got it. The workflow will work with everything. Just need to change one little hookup at the base. It doesn't matter if you got the UNet, the diffusers, or the combined version. Doesn't matter. All of that's going to work. So I'll show you how to set that up. Obviously, what we're going to be talking today is Controlnet Depth and Controlnet Canny for the colors model, which is what the Koda pack is dealing to make a collection for. It's also got IPAdapter Advanced. You can exchange that module for, or the contents of that group for any other example that we've shown. So it's pretty simple to retool it, but it comes with an advanced setup. So that'll be 3 image inputs and 1 negative input, which is also part of the main group. As I said, Soup here was removed, but you can put that back in if you want by just simply copy and pasting it from the example in the pack. And the reason I'm calling it pre-0 is because of the fact it's legacy, right? So again, we'll look at the model loaders. It's really simple. So first of all, you're going to need the models, and obviously where are they going to go? They're going to go into comfyui models Controlnet, right? So as you can see here, if I go in, I've made a folder called colors so I can keep them separate. There they are, Canny and Depth. I rename them. You can call them whatever you want. The reason I rename them is because it gets a bit confusing when everything is called Diffusion PyTorch model. So I just called it Colors Controlnet Depth, Colors Controlnet Canny. It doesn't matter what it is, just as long as you know which one's which and where, and you put it in the right folder. So you don't need the subfolder. That's just me trying to organize my life. So here is the Colors Controlnet Canny. Both of these links are going to be at the very bottom of the model page where you download it. So when you come to here, you can just simply click Show More. The V5 video that you're watching now should be embedded in the top. And if you go all the way to the bottom, we have a written way of setting it up. Now, this is, as I was saying, this is for put the clip vision in the vision. You know, there's going to, the combined, as far as I can see, the combined model has the model and the VAE built in. It's interesting they didn't put the clip vision model in, but maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so from there, let's take a look at what's going on. So yeah, thanks to everybody following the packs as they've been progressing through. We've had a really interesting last few weeks, and we've got a whole bunch more to show off. So let's jump into the workflow now. Let's just go full screen for a bit. So this is Colors 0 Legacy V69. And if you can see, there's the video link you're watching now. There's the model link. All of the links will be over on that. Then we've got the my website, and obviously what this actually is. Now, when I was talking about the back end, this is what I'm talking about. So this was the UNet loader, which you would use to load Colors Diffusion PyTorch FP16. Now, I'm using a set node, to make a reference to the model, which the rest of the workflow is pulling in. So for example, that's a Controlnet loader, so we shouldn't have that there. So this here, if I unmute it and mute this one, and then I could mute this one too, for example. Now, I don't have it downloaded yet, but if I was to download any model, right, any model, it should have at least a model and a VAE. Often it would have a clip too, but because we use ChatGLM3 for that, I don't think we actually need to load that in with this. So basically what's going to happen is if I wanted to make this work with the combined checkpoint, all I've got to do is mute these and then drag the model into set model and drag the VAE into set VAE when you have your colors checkpoint here, the new one, right? That's as simple as, and the whole thing just will still work fine. Okay, that's the only thing you've got to actually change if you have the newer checkpoint method. Because I realized that by the time people watch the video, could be weeks. And of course, at that point, everyone is using the new model. So I'm giving you this so that, you know, this is still going to work. I am going to do like a quality of life update, which basically releases an all new pack with all the same workflows, but already fixed and optimized with all of the improvements, right? Well, that's the basic plan. Obviously, some of them have been duplicated, right? So you're going to end up with a newer, updated pack that's going to use the newer checkpoint method. But it makes absolutely no difference in the outputs. So for the purposes of the demonstration, we're just going to be using what everybody already has at the time of writing. So everybody right now most likely has this old method. So it still works with that one. So I'm not going to like ditch you guys. I know you've already invested the time downloading all this stuff. So it's going to work with both. Right. So from that point on, let's explain how this is actually working. So I think the first thing to point out, obviously, is that this one at the very bottom is a compare. Okay. This is comparing the base output or the image input with the upscale. So this is like an upscale compare down the bottom here. All right. So obviously that's normally toggled off unless you're doing upscaling. So for example, right now, I'm not doing any upscaling right now. So I can turn all of that off right now. All that's off. Okay. Now it's taking an image input and you can set the image. This is the image input. So if you were to put the image, just like a loader, that's how it's automatically set up. But of course, you can come to here and where this input is, like if you wanted to just chain it from this output, or from this output, or from this output, or from this output, or from, yeah, I think that's all of them actually. So essentially, they all have their own unique names. So this is base out. So there's your sort of base area, right? This is the base sampler. And then over here, we've got alternate samplers. So these use perturbed. And then this one uses a different alternate setup of perturbed. But I think this one has Controlnet on. And this one has Controlnet. This one has Controlnet on. So Controlnet off, Controlnet on, Controlnet on. And this is a slightly different setup to what I was using before. This is 21.5 2M alt SGM uniform. And that is with CNET on. Both of them. So we have our CNET controls just here, right? And what I'm doing is I've set a reference to the depth map. I've set a reference to the Controlnet depth model, and I've set a reference to the conditioning positive on the base. And so this is completely modular. And then I'm feeding in. And what I've done is I've given you, now I tested these. I found that you probably should put this to 0.5 if you do average, but it's a bit tricky. Like you can average the conditioning, or let's see, how can I put this? That's actually not hooked up. Is that hooked up correctly? No, it's not. It's not hooked up correctly. The point is you've got a negative combine and then you've got a positive combine. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the normal conditioning that would have been coming in from the text encoder, which is just here. So here's your actual prompt and negative, right? So what I've done is I've taken, and it's currently set to IPAdapter. So let's just turn all that stuff off. Colors basic. Let's turn this off as well, and we'll keep the comparer, and we'll have to set the comparer. So right now it's comparing depth map, which is the image that we put into the control net, with perturbed. We're not making perturbed right now. So I'm going to compare it with base out. All right. Which is probably what we're going to be looking at. So this one here, that's base out. So that's all I've got switched on right now. All you need to know is that I tested it with concat and average, and I found that combine gave me the best results when I was using both. However, if I was only using one of them, then I would just hook up the one into here, right? I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to hit the ground running. So what we've got here is we've got an image of a Asian cartoon, French made, I don't know. And what we're going to do is just a test image that I use a lot. So there it is. The image that's one of the results which I've put through. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go again from scratch. So let's warm up the engine. And while it's doing it, let's take a look at the back end, because I've deliberately looked at everything else first. So quick run over. Top two are the comparers. We've got comparers at the top, got a big comparer at the bottom. And you can choose with the references which images are being compared. All the images have a reference. So if you want to compare the base with the perturbed, or the perturbed with the stage 2 upscale, as long as you've got it all active, you can just pick. So you open it up, and then you pick from one of the images. All right, and they're all named, so it should be pretty easy to understand. Perturbed C off is Controlnet off. Perturbed C on is Controlnet on. I hope everything else is self-explanatory. If you're having trouble with these, you can right-click collapse, and then it will still open and close. All right. Okay, so we've got the original. Oh, the prompt doesn't. The prompt is completely. That's still useful though. Okay. So the prompt here is completely not what we've put into the control net, and also the control net is actually switched off right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get close to the woman with the prompt. So let's just make it reasonably simple. So I'll say anime illustration. Well, that'll be a confusing one, won't it? Anime illustration of attractive woman wearing dark French made outfit with red details. And I'll say woman, comma, brown hair, comma, and then I'll go sitting on a desk in an expensive, what would you call that? It's like a managerial office or something. In an expensive looking room. That's terrible. All right. So let's go again. See what we get. You can ignore this one here. It's not really anything to do with what we're doing. Okay. Right. So anyway, it's given me. What on earth did I ask for? So it's given me exactly what I asked for. It's given me a wow. Yeah, it's given me an Asian woman in a French-made outfit. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get it closer to this picture. That's my goal for today. So if I go ahead and put depth and canny on, they both use both models 1 and 2. This is the reason why you've got an off and an on down here. So if I just go for that one there, probably actually a little bit better than the original in some ways. But you've got to try and stay objective. So we've got our maps, right? There's our depth map. There's our canny map. The settings that we're going to be using are 0.7, 0.7, and we're going to be ending at 0.9 and 0.9. They're actually overlapping on this one, which is interesting because in the previous setup that we got working. We had to use 0 to 0.1 and 0.1, sorry, 0.1 to 0.2 or something for each. So they had to run it concurrently. Okay, and there you go. So now it's perfectly matching the original. So if I just run up here and have a look at the comparison again, you'll see that now it's perfectly following what we asked it. So we gave it a reference and it's given us this. And like I said, in many ways, it's much better. Like this is blown out in some ways, and this, but it has the same kind of proportions. It's a different style, I'll grant you, but this was probably made with a training Lora on 1.5 or something years ago, whereas this is just coming out of a base generation. So yeah, we're using the Controlnet, sure. And so the next thing, of course, is, well, it's pretty obvious when you think about it. If I go to my Controlnet now, not Controlnet, IPAdapter, right? So let's turn on the IPAdapter and we'll put it to model 2. That's why we've got the bracket into number 2 to imply that we need to switch. And then let's take a look at the IPAdapter setups. This is pretty simple. So this is set up for doing photo-ish illustrations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag, let's see, I'll drag that one in and that one in, and I'll leave, shall I leave that one alone? Well, let's just make this one and see what it does first. So it's going to use the 4th image as the negative, and we're doing IPAdapter noise shuffle 0.5. We're doing linear with average on 0.7 right now. And I am going to swap it up and change it to the, normally I like to do style transfer, but this is fine for now. We go, right, so now we can take a look at that. And it's actually much better. It's even better than the previous image. Okay. Like I said, it's following the image that we've supplied it with, and it's also doing its own details, and the quality is much better when you actually look at things. And we haven't done any upscaling or anything like that. This is a pure base output. All right. So, and like I said, this is where it can get interesting, because with the sampler garden setup, what we can do is we can just add these modules. I've got them pre-done for you guys. So we've got perturbed CNET off, CNET on, and then perturbed CNET fix. Now this is just, it doesn't always fix it. But what I find is happening, if I just go to, I don't know, let's say 5 images, there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to show what happens with the alternate samplers, because basically you get a completely different set of images and they're still going to follow. Why, what's with, oh, I see why now. Right. So what I actually need to do, let's just replace that one image with the Real Jugs XL. Because this is why I was saying perturbed is a great way of getting some extra quality out of the generation. But as you can see, it kind of ignored the Controlnet, right? Now, let me just make sure I haven't messed this up. Oh, no, wait, yeah, that's Controlnet off. That's okay. That's okay. So that's what you would have got with Controlnet off. I don't want to get twisted. But then with the same settings with Controlnet, right, it's all washed out. So this is why I needed to do a fix. This is what I'm talking about. So again, just to give you the idea, that is very good. That's following the image almost exactly, but now with the IPAdapter, it's given it some photorealism, right? The photorealism in this picture here and this picture here are overweighting the anime style of these pictures, okay? But also, when we turn the IPAdapter on, we can use this perturbed sampler setup. And like I said, with Controlnet off, it's making great images with 20.3, okay? But when we do that with the Controlnet on, it does something weird. It's almost like there's not enough denoising happening, but we do have it at the maximum denoise. And it's probably because the low CFG and this perturbed with the conditioning from the Controlnets, right? So we've got here Controlnet CNET for the conditioning, positive and negative. So that's being set up there. And so what I've done is I've tried basically just up the CFG, and it'll get you back. Like it's still, this is what I'm saying though. It's clearly better than the other one, but it's still got this sort of Polaroid washed out thing going on. Now, if I go to 2, and again, this is one of the good things about Sampler Garden. If I don't know, if I have it on fixed seed, it's only going to do the one I changed. So you can have many of these planted about, and they've got a get seed now, so you don't need to hook that up anymore. It's even easier. You can just literally copy this entire section to here and put in whatever details you want, and it'll just do that as well. If you put it in a group, it'll be added to the group. Just make sure that they're like, the height is what determines the order. So you notice that these groups are like slightly higher, and that's just to make sure that when you look at the panel, they're all kind of lined up from left to right. That's done on purpose. Right, so as you can see, by adding a little bit more CFG, we get some of the colors and some of the contrast back, but it's still very hazy. So like I said, with perturbed, you can get some really amazing image quality, but once you add in the Controlnet, it's almost like, I mean, there's a lot of different solutions. You could try backing off the Controlnet strength, for a start, or even backing off the IPAdapter strength as well, because it might be overriding it. So all that sort of stuff is going to impact the results. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use the same image a couple of times. All right. So I'm just going to make it all the same. Well, except for that one. That one's different. And do we have any others that are different? We must have. Well, let's do 50-50. So where's the other one? I don't even know where that one is. Not that one, is it? No. Yeah, it's that one. Right. We'll put that one there. All right. So now there's no photo tags. Well, there shouldn't be. And then if you're just wondering, like, where did we get the Controlnet? Okay, so what I've done is I've set them here, and one of them has the width and height, which is driving the generation. All right, now there are lots of different ways you can do that. You could use an aspect size node and have the resize set to fill crop. Okay, so then you could like change it from tall to wide and stuff like that. Okay, so let's take a look at the results here. So first image that we get, again, like it's got this weird sort of bokeh, almost bloomish thing going on with the default, which I've always used is, wait, I don't use DDIM uniform. Okay, right. Well, anyway, whatever. So actually, that's a good point. So 25, 4.5 EULA DDIM uniform, right? So let's give you an example of what I was talking about just now. If I just drag control like that, put that guy there. All right. Now it's got CNET on. It's got perturbed attention. So let's say I want to make one without the perturbed attention. All right. So we'll just delete that. It's still connected. Okay. We're using the CNET for this one, so that's connected. And then we're going to say, I don't want this to be served. I'm going to say this is going to be image standard, right? And I'm just going to put in, what I would normally put in for this model. So what I would normally do is I would try out EULA on Keras, and I'd try that first. Yeah, just go with that. Okay, so off we go. And it should just run this sampler for me. And like I said, I can put this in a group, so then it's toggleable. Yeah, just like that. That's good enough. You don't even really need to name it. Okay, and so that's what we get for EULA 20 on Keras. So what I'm thinking is, well, what about EULA PP CFG? This is what just came out recently. So we'll just go for it and see what happens. Give you an idea of what I would do. I don't normally work on pictures of people or characters. Normally I like to do backgrounds and scenery, but it's all the same. So as you can see, this is kind of baked, right? So what I'd probably do is back off the CFG maybe. Let's try 4. The steps are probably okay. It looks, the picture image is good, right? And then once I find something I'm happy with, then that's an alternate setup. And then I can just duplicate and go and keep exploring and adding new ones. Now, that's not bad. That's not bad at all, to be honest. So let's say I want to try out. So, you know, when you find a good one, leave it, go to the next one, right? It's going to automatically give you a new standard 0. Everything else is automatic. I don't need to do anything else. So now I guess let's just go for, I like 3M SDE. That's always been good to me. And I also like SGM uniform. So let's keep it on 4 and see what happens. Might need a bit more CFG with this. And then DPMPP Alt is a new one as well, which I've been liking lately. So I'll just basically plonk it on that last. So again, this is making a good image too. I mean, you know, it's really following the generation as well. And we will put a different image in a second, because I do want you to see that it's not like cherry picking, basically, right? So image standard 0, that should be 0, now. Yeah, cool. And again, if I just like chuck these into little arbitrary groups, it'll always get sticky when you do it first time. So let's just take that one there. And then we'll get another group here. And we'll just plonk him about there-ish. And expand that out like that. There we go. And now we can do another one. So another one I always liked, again, deep GPM Alt, like I say. And we could probably take it down, actually, quite a lot. Maybe 2 or even 1.5. So let's take a look and see what that produces. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the Controlnet and I'm going to turn the IPAdapter off and show you what it actually got. But we'll change the prompt, because I think that you get the point. It makes good picks. Now, what else can it do? So let's go to my favorite rock house. I don't think anybody can complain about a rock house, right? There we go. All the way, image number 1. There he is. Now we've got it on keep proportion. This is currently 1024 by 1024. Everything will automatically scale for you. Okay. Now I'm going to leave all this stuff on, but I am going to make one change. In fact, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the depth, turn off the canny, turn off the IPAdapter, and set it to 1. We also don't need any of these alts, and I can turn off my, wait, is it overlapping something? What's going on? They're all called groups, so it's losing its mind. Okay. Let me just quickly fix this. So group, I'll say A. B. C. All right, so I think I've named my groups, so now it won't like bug out. But that's because I made a huge load of extra stuff that you know, it's up to you whether you want to do that. Right. So we've got our comparer and we've got basic on. Just want to make sure that the comparer is set up for something which we're actually going to use. So depth map would be the image we're loading right now. And then base out is going to be the default image that comes out of the main sampler every time. So now all we need to do is just change the prompt. Now I think I've actually got a prompt, and I'm going to use that to adapt. So what I'll do is I'll say, instead of Jungle City, I'll say, now remember, the picture that we're going to use here is just one of my, where did I not, I think that's from Not the True World. It's my Lora for SDXL, and that is the rock house style. So it makes houses on rocks, typically over the ocean or clouds, depending on what you ask it for, right? So it's just the concept of a single building on a single outcrop. That's the idea. And then you can put that in anything you want. So that was the concept there for that subset. It has 30 styles. That's one of them. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the prompt for a completely different, because remember, it's not actually the Lora. It's just images from the dataset combined with a prompt from the dataset. So let's get rid of aircraft because we don't need that. No humans is fine. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to say jungle house, because my tags are usually descriptive tokens, so I can double up on the impact with the training. It's like, slamming 2 tokens together. So what about if we say jungle house scenery, cloud, no humans, tree, sky, outdoors, building, city, day. Okay. Yeah. And I probably want to say on rocks above the ocean, clear blue skies. Fluffy clouds. That's not how you spell clouds. What else have I spelt wrong? Clear. All right. And now I'm going to say photo of to see if we can get some photorealism out of this one. We'll see. It depends what we end up shoving in here. So we'll ask for 5 of those. I think I've set everything up correctly. Yeah. Okay. So first image comes out. Nice. Okay, cool. So as you can see, this is nothing like, it's a nice house sticking out of the jungle for sure. That's really cool. That's probably the coolest designer treehouse I've seen in a while, but it's not that. But remember, this is text to image. This isn't image to image. We start with an empty latent that is merely the same size as what the Controlnet is being supplied. All right. So I actually wanted 5 of those. What happened? Where's the 5 images? There we go. Oh, I see. They're all the same seed, so it didn't do them. Right. So let's just take that seed lock off. There we go. Boom. Let's go. And again. Yeah, there we go. So while it's cooking up the next 5 images, I'm going to say what we're doing next. So what we're doing next is we're going to turn the Controlnet on. Now, one of the reasons I just made a whole bunch of these is because I want something for the IP adapter. Because obviously what I'm going to use for the Controlnet is this house here, right? So when we turn the Controlnet on, it's just going to be very close to that. Be interesting to see what it does. So if I now shove depth and canny on like that, just like that, just enable them, queue another 5 images. If we look at what it made that, it made that, it made that, and it made that. Okay, we've got some good images there, right? So now it's done that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these images and put them into the Controlnet. Sorry, the IP adapter. I keep on screwing up the naming. I don't know why. 1, 2, 3. Let's get that one in there as well, I think. So I've taken the 3 images I like the look of, and I should probably put the last one in there. There we go. Cool. So let's take a look at what it's making now. So these images are much, much closer to what was originally put in, but it's got full freedom to render whatever it likes. So it's still quite loose, but this is an easy improvement on what we had before, right? However, it's a bit basic, if you see what I mean. The reason is because when we turn the IP adapter on, it's going to take a look at all these images and get a bunch of extra tokens. And then I believe what we're doing is we're averaging, right? And then that's going to be made into the new prompt. So first things first, let's turn the IP adapter on and switch to model 2, which is IP adapter. And now the whole thing's in IP adapter mode. And we'll start getting usually it makes the images a bit, depends. If it doesn't see the images as photorealistic, you won't get any photorealistic tags out of it. So if you put photos in IP adapter and then generate, it will become more photorealistic. But it's a double-edged sword, because if they're low quality, it might pick up on that too. So it's always worth experimenting with. But as you can see, it is making low resolution imaginary jungle house photos now. It's going a bit crazy with the futuristic house thing. So what I might do to sort of alleviate that would be to try and use these ones, so that now it's like a more accurate, it's more accurate. So now you're going to have more like, more similar tokens coming out of the vision and enhancing your conditioning. I'll just cue them up straight away. So as I said, these are pretty good, but like I said, it's going too nuts with the glass. And I think it's because every image there was basically the same kind of thing. And so it's going a bit nuts with what the hell's going on inside this glass building. It's kind of funny, actually. Okay. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, well, I'm happy with my new prompt. I'm happy with the fact that, it's following it reasonably, but still following. It's what I wanted, but it's got the same sort of composition and scale and all the rest. So we're getting very close, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go my perturbed off so we can see what it would look like without any control net. And then with the perturbed on and the potential fix. So off it goes. Now, at any point, you can drag an image that you like. So say I like this image, right? I could drag this image into here, and then we can actually run the upscaler in, but it'll just take much, much longer. So what I say is wait until the end, get the best images, and then just put them in yourself. Because what you can do is obviously you can turn all of this off and turn the upscale stages on. They've got its own comparer, and then you can see the difference. So looking at this is pretty cool. And now we've got perturbed. Have we got the perturbed on now? Base out versus perturbed. We should be able to compare these now. So I'm not sure it's actually working yet. Base out perturbed. Yeah, there we go. Why have we got no comparison? It's not actually done the fixed one yet. So while we wait for it to do that, you can add Superior back in. I showed you how to do that in the previous pack with the 12K upscale example. Obviously, you can use, there are so many different IPAdapter nodes. As long as you drag the same connections into whichever node, like this is a legacy node, right? But there's now another one. So this is kind of why everyone says, why do you have to make so many packs? And I'm like, the reason is because the code gets updated. So if you see here, it says IPAdapter Model Loader Colors Legacy, IPAdapter Advanced Colors Legacy. What's legacy mean? That's the old UNet. I want to say diffusers, but that's probably inaccurate. Separate models, not combined models. So yeah, there's always new nodes dropping. There's always new functionality appearing. And what I do is I just try to get the video out as quickly as I can for you guys. So let's take a look though. This is the output from colors, just using IPAdapter 0.3 on perturbed. And then this is what happens when we put the control net on. Do you see what I mean? It's nasty. Something's not right. But the fix brings it back home. See, this is actually better than the original image, It's more detailed, more accurate, and the colors are a bit richer. Sure, it's not maybe as sharp, okay, but I'd give up a bit of sharpness for, this kind of coherence, okay? Because you can add in sharpness. You can add in sharpness. It's not the end of the world. So let's see. I've turned off all of those groups there. I probably will turn all of them on, actually, just for the sake of argument, because that's the whole point of the sampler garden, was you can plant all these different sampler settings and then you can just have them populate. So we're going to make one more image at the end of the queue. That's quite cool. And the thing is, you could take an image like this and run it through super resolution. You could run it through various different things to up the scale, up the detail depth. But the fact that you can just make these just with that as an input image, I mean, it's removed all the people. I'll say that. And also, as I said, it's not completely lost its mind over the transparency of the glass there. It's actually quite clean. So yeah, we're doing another round. So basically, we're coming to the end of this particular demo. I just wanted you guys to get your hands on this. So just to run through it again, you're going to need the depth model. You're going to need the canny model. You're going to put that into your Controlnets folder in models. You can download my pack over on Civet AI. The current version at the time of publish is V5. All the previous versions are included. We're currently at the point of moving from the manual setup, where you had to get all the bits yourself and put them in the right places, to a combined checkpoint setup, where it's much easier to do. This is what happens every time. So just be glad that somebody was able to take the time to make it for us, because, you know, we don't actually have to pay for it, which is something else. Anyway, it's listed as SDXL Hyper right now because Supia contains SDXL Hyper, and there isn't actually a colors base model listing on Civet yet. So until that gets added, I pretty much have to just keep listing it as SDXL, even though it's not really, it's colors. But it's better than putting it in as other, right? So I think that's pretty much everything. I just want to make sure. The Loki pack has also got an update because they've got the same thing happened. Okay, the same thing has happened with Live Portrait. There's now a media pipe implementation which is fully open sourced. So I'm going to be doing a quality of life live stream soon, which is basically me opening up the old workflows and updating them for the next release as a result of them being updated by the authors, right? And then so you've still got all the old workflows, so you can match them up with the videos that we've still got. They'll still work, but we do need to keep on top of the stuff. So when it changes, and it's easier now, but it does require re-downloading. It's like one file or two files maybe. This is kind of normal. So, you know, I'm used to it, but, you know, there it is. Hopefully you guys will get used to it too. Whenever something new comes out, it's usually in pieces and we have to put it together. But then if it's popular enough and the author has time, they're going to make a proper checkpoint release for comfyui, and it'll be much easier to run and operate, much more intercompatible with other nodes. One of the problems with Koda was that the IP adapter used a different loader than the text to image and image to image workflows, which meant that you had to have the same unit in two places, which is obviously not perfect, you know? So I think I did mention it at the time. And obviously when they make changes, we come in and we do that. So the quality of life live stream will basically just be me opening up an old pack, going through it, updating it, saving a new version. While I'm doing that, if anybody wants to hang out, they're welcome to ask any questions and we can talk about and do other things as we work. So that's pretty much the plan. There's no set date yet because I'm just feeling it out. I don't know which day is going to be best, but probably on a weekend, I would think. So thanks for watching, guys. It's been great fun these last few months getting this channel off the ground, and look forward to more, and I'll see you next time. So memberships are here. I've added donator and member. The donator membership is just you want to support the channel, help us grow. Member, you're going to get some exclusive video access. So look out for the upcoming date and check out the join now button for more information.